Essays with Ana-Marija.
Okay, today's essay is called My Dad the Spy. My Dad the Spy. My dad always had this very classically Serbian dad way about him. He was the alpha. Me, my mom, my brother, and our hamsters, we were the betas. I never knew what he was up to. We weren't privy to that information. My mom, she could turn anything into something. Construction paper into a Christmas tree, fabric into matching Batman costumes, factory wages into a small house in Greektown. My dad, on the other hand, turned everything into a classified file. Where he was going, what he was thinking, who he is, all sealed and stamped with a big red confidential. When we were children, he would tell us stories about his childhood, which I liked very much. In particular, there was one he told about an injured bird he'd saved and protected until it could fly again. It made me feel close to him. By the time we were teenagers, he'd stopped telling us stories. And I realized I didn't really know anything about his teenage years and beyond. I could imagine my dad being a kid, and then boom, as if he'd just cleared 2 steps with his giant gait instead of 1. My parents are both very, very tall. Straight to being the adult towering above me. It wasn't just important questions he wouldn't answer. It was every little thing. Everything was a mystery, for no obvious reason. For instance, whenever I would ask my dad what kind of meat we were eating, he'd just say, meat. If I asked him where he was going, he'd say, out. I didn't even realize there were different types of meat until my early 20s. I mean, I obviously knew there was bacon because that's like a staple in any Hollywood movie centered around a family. But beyond that, everything else, chicken, lamb, etc., belonged to a nebulous category of just meat. I hated not knowing. I didn't care what kind of meat it was or where in fact he was truly going. I just wanted to know. I felt like I had done something wrong in asking a question. So I would make up stories about him. As a kid, I imagined he was part of a secret spy service where he would wear dark glasses and stamp papers with a big red confidential. I imagined the double life he had to live just to keep us safe. The secrets that tore up his insides. The secrets that tore up his insides that he had to bear just so we could live in happy ignorance. When I grew older as a teenager, I just assumed he had a secret family. That he would spend his evenings with us, then leave the next morning to clock in with his second family. I decided that was more likely than the former theory. It made me sad, but I also understood that adults had worlds I couldn't comprehend, and this was probably just one of those things. It was these trains of thinking that made me stop trusting my parents. I was a very suspicious child, unsure who I could depend on. Looking back, I don't actually think my dad was hiding anything. I know he wasn't a spy or juggling 2 families, not least because he's kind of disorganized. Maybe what I read as suspicious was just another parent too tired and scared to open up the classified folder of their own lives. The only thing I do know for certain is that secrecy raises suspicious children, and suspicious children become adults who tell jokes for a meager living and write essays for fun. The